and investments in those states. Joining us now to discuss this is Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter. Congressman, welcome to the show. So glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right. Before we get to this meeting with the CEOs, you were just in Texas, in Donna, Texas, on Friday. Want to get your view of what you saw down there and what you are thinking coming away from that experience.
Well, first of all, going down there, I knew that there was a crisis. What I didn't realize is that it's a disaster. And I mean that. It's just unbelievable what's going on there. The people are overwhelmed. The Customs and Border Patrol agents who are doing a yeoman's work and doing a great job. But still, here you have, in the month of March, 172,000 people that we know of cross that border. Here we have, when we were there, we went to the Donna facility and we went to the processing center of CBT. And when we went by there, we saw, it was unbelievable what we saw. We saw a building with a capacity of 250. And at that day, on Friday, they had 3,500. Unbelievable. A capacity of 250 and they had 3,500. And of those 3,500, 2,600 of them were unaccompanied children. Unbelievable again. And in the pods, the separate units they have set up, they have a capacity of 33, and they had almost 400 in each pod. They were literally on top of each other. Unbelievable, inhumane, to be quite honest with you. We have a humanitarian crisis there that has really exponentially turned into a national security concern, because we're having to take those Customs and Border Patrol agents, take them to do social work, essentially, in the processing centers, which means that they can't monitor the border. We had an instance where they told us they had a 23-mile stretch where they had 3 officers. Now, how are 3 officers going to monitor 23 miles? There's no way they can do that. And therefore, the cartels are diverting the attention of the agents. They're concerned about the people who are coming across, and they're bringing drugs across the border. And how is that impacting us? Well, in the state of Georgia last week, we had fentanyl overdoses. Don't think for one moment that just sit at home and think, oh, that's a problem at the border with all these people coming across. No. Yes, that is a concern, the main concern, the humanitarian concern. However, it's coming to your community too, and it's coming in the way of the illegal drugs.
That's right. Well, that's a great thing about having you on to explain this, is because I think a lot of people look at this as an Arizona, Texas problem. And you're right. It doesn't matter what state you live in. Right now, every state is a border state, because they're either sending folks here or they're sending the consequences, like the drugs and some of the other things that are happening. I do want to switch back to what Lindsay brought up at the beginning, though, this meeting that happened of all these business CEOs who were gathered to talk about, these voting rules, specifically, obviously, the Georgia voting law. It was interesting because your new senator, Raphael Warnock, has now admitted to signing off on an email with false information about the new voting law that passed. It was unbelievable. The lies that the media, that the folks on the left are telling about what's happening in your state are unbelievable. And I got to think that at some point, you guys got to figure out a way to push back, because I've heard your governor very clearly talk about how this basically cracks down on cheating and makes it easier to vote. That should be something that we all want.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what the Election Integrity Act does. It makes it easier to vote and harder to cheat. And that's what 75% of all Americans said that they wanted. They wanted more integrity in their election process. 60% of all Democrats said that.
Did you, Congressman, I'm sorry, but have you talked, like it seems to me, I've read it, Lindsay and I have covered this, we put the stuff up on the screen. Have you talked to any of these CEOs, especially the ones based in Georgia, and said, tell me specifically what you don't like in this bill? Because I see them talking, like throwing around the left-wing talking points, but I can't find one of them talking about the specifics that they want to change.
No, I have not spoken to any of the CEOs, but I can tell you this. They've fallen victim to the lies and misinformation that Stacey Abrams, Joe Biden, Raphael Warnock, and all the Democrats are spreading out there. And Raphael Warnock has already been proven to have lied and signed on to a letter that was obviously misinformation and obviously lying. And what has that resulted in? It's resulted in Major League Baseball moving the All-Star game out of Georgia, costing us hundreds of millions of dollars. Thank you, Senator Warnock. We appreciate that very much. Who's that going to impact? It's going to impact small businesses. It's going to impact minority small businesses. I tell you, this guy's killing us. He just is these lies and misinformation. Washington Post gave Joe Biden 4 Pinocchios. And what I don't understand is the CEOs. Now, they would not be a CEO if they weren't a smart person. These are intelligent people. Why didn't they read it first before they made all these, or before they fell victim to all the lies and the misinformation? You would think that they would have read it themselves, or at least had a staffer underneath them read it and explain it to them, and then they would have realized that, no, that's not the case. What's happened here in Georgia is that we've actually improved things. We've made it easier to vote and harder to cheat.
Yeah.
Well, Senator, I've got to ask you this. We only have about 40 seconds left here. But, you know, we're used to seeing corporations get involved in politics when it comes to taxes or reforms, when it deals with things they're involved with. Now they want to get involved in these social issues. Is that good for the system or not?
No, absolutely not. I can't understand that. Listen, I was a businessman for over 32 years, and I was a politician at the time, part of that time. And I can tell you that it was the #1 rule in our store. We don't have any politics in here. We just, of course, we were in healthcare. I was a pharmacist. So you can't have politics in healthcare. You have to just take care of people. But still, I can't believe these companies are doing this. And what I want to know is what they're going to be doing in 2022 in Beijing, when China, who we know is suppressing human rights, and we know what they're doing. Are they going to be advertising then? Are they going to be protesting them? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I wonder if the MLB is going to reconsider its relationship with communist Cuba. But, you know, you don't want to bring up the hypocrisy because that would make sense. Anyway, Congressman, thank you for sharing your thoughts on the border and what's going on with these CEOs. I appreciate it.
Thank you.